up is Dr. Francis Marquez. She is running for a position on the Orange County Board of Supervisors, representing our district, obviously.
Okay, you want me to do that?
Well,
Thank you.
Sorry, we're getting feedback. Sorry. Welcome, Francis. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you for having me tonight. It's an honor.
We are asking all of our candidates tonight to give a 2-minute introduction. So it's in essence to give us a little flavor of who you are and why you're so wonderful and why we need to vote for you and that kind of thing. But if you would be so kind and share with us who you are, and we'll listen intently. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here tonight to address everyone. My name's Dr. Francis Marquez. I'm running for Orange County Board of Supervisors, District 1, and I'm running because I care deeply about people. I was raised by my parents, Frank and Sally Marquez. I'm the daughter of parents who were segregated. I grew up in Cyprus. My parents moved us here when I was a little girl in 1974. I live in the home that I was raised in with my mother, who's 91. I take care of her, so I'm a candidate caregiver. I'm also a council member in Cyprus, and that's just a little bit of the background of who I am. I want to go back to the point that, I was raised by parents who worked very hard to put 6 kids through school. I'm the 5th daughter. I have 4 older sisters and a younger brother. And my dad ran my grandparents' family farm literally right down the 605 freeway off of Slauson Avenue in Santa Fe Springs. They farmed where the Whittier Presbyterian Hospital is at, by St. Paul High School, all that region where Home Depot's at. And my grandparents started the farm in 1932. I have long roots. My grandfather crossed the U.S.-Mexico border when he was 11 in 1917, worked for other farmers, saved money, and then bought property in Santa Fe Springs. And so we grew up selling vegetables at my grandparents' farm. My mom and my dad met when they were 14 and got married and had us, and we moved to Cyprus, like I said, in '74, and I spent my summers, and all of my siblings and I, selling vegetables at the farm in Santa Fe Springs. And I always say every kid should have a farm and to have the experience of selling vegetables. And so we work very hard. We value the hard work of families. I said, that's it. So that's a little bit of the background of me. I can sprinkle in stuff later.
Yeah, you can't. Can you hear me okay? No, you will have an opportunity. And I love the way you referenced the roots, and then you referenced the farm. So there was a good analogy there in having it be very symbolic. I was trying to be funny with that. But in any case, I will be the first to ask you question number 1, please. And you will have 3 minutes to respond to each one of these questions. Question 1 is, how do you plan to engage and communicate with Rossmoor residents on a regular basis to ensure that our voices are heard at the county level?
So I want to tell you that I went to UCLA and had an opportunity to be an intern for Congressman Edward Roybal. The downtown LA federal building's named after him. He was 74 and I was 19 when I interned for him. So, and he sent me to Washington, D.C., came back home, and his chief staff took me under his wing. So since that time, I was able to work for another 2 members of Congress and then 2 in Washington, D.C. And constituent casework is something I love. I've done it for those 4 members. I've helped seniors, veterans, youth. And so that's at the heart of who I am. The delivery of services is critical to me. So upon getting elected, I will come to Rossmoor and we will sit down and meet and talk about the issues that are critical, things that need to be addressed. I want to make sure that all of you, everybody in Rossmoor has a strong delivery of services. That's the key reason why I'm running. It's really critical. That's it. That's what public servants do. And in this district, we've had a huge issue with corruption. I want to shift that focus to residents. This is really about you And the public service and me serving at the county level is about taking care of everyone in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. You may have touched on some of this in your prior answer. I'll give you the question. As an unincorporated community in the First District, the County Board of Supervisors is directly responsible for our governance and oversight. What assurances will you give Rossmoor that our specific financial and other governance interests will not be lost or diminished, given the other municipalities and unincorporated communities in the First District that you'll be representing?
So I'm familiar with unincorporated areas because my grandparents' farm was in an unincorporated area of Whittier. And so I see that the unincorporated areas sometimes don't have sidewalks or the regular things that cities have. I'm about equity. I want to make sure that Rossmoor, if there's things you guys need, that we will have them related to public safety, any healthcare issues. The county runs the healthcare plan. And one of the reasons I want to point out that I'm running is that in 2013 and 2014, I was a legislative director for Congressman Alan Lowenthal. I worked 6 days a week, 2 years straight. I lived at the Capitol directing federal dollars to Orange County. During that time period, my opponent was mismanaging CalOptima, our county's health care plan. This is the reason why I'm running. I want good management. I teach policy evaluation. I want all of these county programs evaluated. I want to make sure that your taxpayer dollars are being used the way they're supposed to be used correctly and money is not being wasted. I want to tell you that members of Congress would never vote for a program for the next year if they didn't have the evidence or the data in their hands to show that that program was meeting its goals. So this is really, really critical. There's a lot of loss of money right now going on that I see. I don't see programs being evaluated at the county. So I want to make sure the service infrastructure, housing, healthcare, all those issues, all those departments have evaluations of all the work that's being done. It's really, really critical. We need the evidence and the data. And I'm a professor. I teach students, undergraduate students that are deaf and hard of hearing. And so one of the things that I teach my students is that, the policy has to cover and take care of everybody, and it's got to be laid out equitably, and people need to get the services that they need. So, and also, I don't know, at the county level too, one of the issues is disability policy. Nobody's really talked about this. I want to bring that to the forefront. So there's people in Rossmoor that have disabilities. I want to make sure that their needs are taken care of. I want to make sure when they walk into the County Board of Supervisors room that there's closed captions already on the screen. They don't need to ask for things ahead of time. So I want to make sure there's analysis of disability access for everyone in Orange County.
Thank you. What steps would you take to address the development of zoning issues that may affect Rossmoor, particularly when it comes to preserving the character of our neighborhoods?
So I was reading about Rossmoor this week, and this community is a gem, the history, everything. I thought, wow, no wonder why it's such a special community. Every time I drive in here, it's like beautifully taken care of, and you're very lucky to live here. And I want to make sure that I get feedback from you regarding zoning issues. I'm not going to move forward unless I talk to the community leaders here from the district, all of you, and residents, to talk to you about plans for zoning. I talked to a district member the other day who said, make sure you get feedback from people, and that's what I always do. I don't move forward with anything until I've talked to the community involved. So it's really, I just want you to know I'm somebody that, I'm knocking on doors right now. I knocked on a lot of doors here in Rossmoor in the primary. Last week we hit 317 doors in Garden Grove, and I'm telling people, this is the kind of service you're gonna get. I'm here at your door. A lot of people in Cypress know me. They have my cell number. It's very unusual for a member to give out their number, but if you need something, you can call me. And that's just the access. I think this is public service. This is what it's about, making sure that you are heard.
So the question's related to e-bike use. And it's, is there a law or new legislation that you would support related to e-bike ownership and use that would enhance safety for everybody?
So this is something that I'm not an expert in at the moment, but I've been reading a little bit and seeing that there's a lot of accidents going on. And I had a neighbor call me, he is not in my direct neighborhood in Cypress, and said, you know, my neighbor next door got hit by an e-bike. You know, I want to make sure we do something, because I see kids driving around and on sidewalks fast, you know, and somebody's going to get knocked out, and people have been getting knocked out. So I will study the issue and make sure that we do something about it, because it's, you know, I was thinking when I was a student at UCLA, I had a little scooter, you know, and I'd wear a helmet. And it was a scooter, though. It was, you know, a vehicle. And now I'm like, now there's bikes with motors on them, and there's no rules to really protect people. So that's something I will look into, definitely, because I don't want people getting into accidents. I'm with my mother at Costco. Let me just give you an example. And I'm constantly like, she hangs onto the basket, and I tell her, do not walk away from me. Because I have a neighbor that lives behind me that was hit really badly by a cart at Costco. So I'm very, falls and things like that, I'm very aware, and I want to make sure we prevent things like that. I mean, this is about making sure people are protected. You know, I protect my mom every day in the work that I do. I mean, just to take care of her while I'm working, and I want to make sure every senior is taken care of, and every resident, a little, you know, if a child's walking and I don't want them to get hit by a bike that's going by, you know, 50 miles an hour. So this is about, again, the delivery of services, making people, the quality of life here, that it's safe and people are protected.
Okay. Are there any specific areas that you believe Rossmoor should have more or less local control related to service contracts within the community? What are the pros and cons of such an idea?
You know, this is another thing about getting feedback from you guys. I talked to some people, and these are the things that I want to just tell you that I was told that, like, you guys, you really need to focus and make sure that you're attentive supervisor. I will be attentive. So you can tell this is what I love to do. This is my favorite part of my job, being a council member in Cypress, just helping people problem solve. So I'll be getting feedback from you, but issues like vector control, I was told, are an issue. Public works, keeping storm channels cleared to avoid mosquito breeding and stench. Street sweepers, ensuring all areas are taken care of, and if the area is missed, make sure it's immediately followed up. Sheriff patrols. You know, these are things that, you know, I'm going to ask you, get your feedback. How are things going? Do you feel secure? What are the issues with public safety here? I want to make sure that there's enough support on the streets. And in Cypress, I've supported everything that our police officers have asked for to make sure people are secure. Senior programming. I want to make sure to provide resources for senior programming to go beyond what it is now. I take care of my mom, who's a senior. She goes to the senior center in Cypress for her weekly class on Monday and Friday. So I just want to make sure there's a variety, because the community also is becoming more diverse. And so there's different needs. Library funding as well. I want to meet with you guys to make sure that the funding remains stable and is even increased. As a professor, you know, a library can open up a world to anybody, to a senior, to a child. You know, I'd love to have guest speakers come in and talk. You know, when I lived in Washington, D.C., when I was working on Capitol Hill, like, you could go to the National Archives for a talk, and an expert would be there. That would be nice to bring that to our seniors here and young people, to hear from more experts. But just the supplies of just books and access to resources, research for the students. You know, I feel blessed that I was raised in Cypress and went through a good school system. The students here go through a great school system. I want to make sure that our next generation has everything they need. I was lucky to become well-educated again and go through a good school system. You know, that's why I'm here, giving back. That's why I came back to run in Cypress and to run for this position, because I feel that I'm prepared.
Excellent. So we've got a minute or so set aside for you to share any closing thoughts if you have anything additional for the community.
I just want to say again, I care deeply about people. Accessibility is really critical to me for us to have a relationship and to make sure that your needs are being addressed. I will hire people from the community that know Rossmoor, to represent this community, to get the feedback from all of you, and I will be present and visible, and it would be an honor to represent this community. I want you to know that in Cypress, I've fought for residents at every level, even when I was doing it by myself, and have been deterred to this day. I'm the one, there's two of us now, but it was 4-1 when I first got on the council. And every time I spoke out against a trash contract, we have a trash contract in Cypress that was extended 10 years with no bids, with a 32% rate increase that's not fixed. I called it out. And I'm going to do that to protect you guys. I want you to know that I will be, every contract I get, every document, I review everything carefully. Having worked on Capitol Hill, we used to have bills that were like 800 pages, and there would be things slid into the bill on page, 542 to hide from people. So you have to, I know the shenanigans that are pulled in government. I've had a lot of training with my colleagues, and I want to share with you at the Board of Supervisors I want you to let me finish this thought. In November 28th last year, 2023, I went to the board when I heard and read Nick Gerda's article that Andrew Doe had taken a vote on a $3.1 million contract, knowing that that funding was going to the nonprofit, his friend's nonprofit where his daughter worked, never disclosed the family relationship or the relationship with the friend. You're supposed to recuse yourself. In sign language, this means to step back and recuse yourself. I just want to finish this for a moment. What I found out that day is I arrived, the item had been pulled. And
We're going to give you 30 seconds.
The item had been pulled to protect the member, so nobody would know. I want you to know, I got there at 9:30. I stayed till 2:45 to speak at public comment because I wanted the people of Orange County to know about the troubling allegations and that there was corruption. That was almost 9 months ago. If I was on that board, it would have been called out a lot earlier. So I want you to know that I'm going to be watching every tax dollar and protecting each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.